And what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Artful Podcast. It's Matteo, your host. And as you can see, different background. Different background because we relocate to Berlin. And this is because we start collaborating with an art foundation called FRONTVIEWS. And he has a Hunt gallery inside, which they asked me to interview the artist. And this little series of interview, we're gonna talk about their practice, their artworks, their exhibitions with the Hunt gallery, and it's really exciting for me. And I think it brings the podcast to another level. And I'm really excited. I can't wait to show all the interview that I've done. And it's going to be a little bit of changes. It's going to be a little bit adapting. But again, really happy to do this. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Support the channel. It's really important. And don't forget to check the links below in the description, because they have all the artist information. Go follow them on Instagram and on their website. Go check them. They're really good. And again, follow me on Instagram as well. It's Matteo_Lorusso_art. And again, subscribe to the channel. It's really important. It's really good to support me. It's the best way. And no further ado, guys. Let's go for the studio chat. Yeah. So, how you doing? You okay?
Yes, I am. I'm fine.
Nice.
You know that I'm on residency, like in Bavaria in southern Germany.
Oh yeah. You moved. You moved for.
My
Yeah, you
very
moved.
time.
Yeah. How's it going for the residency? How's it?
It's very nice. Like I can also, like, this is always the first thing which I have to show, because I'm very rural. This is the Starnberger See, and you can also see the Alps.
Oh, that looks great.
I have like an apartment with like a living space and working space, and we also have like a studio house, and there are like 8 other residents here, so it's quite nice. It's very rural because it's like 20 kilometers outside of Munich. You go with the S-Bahn, also with the train to Munich. And then because I do research in archives in Munich, and then I work here like on drawings and other stuff. And yeah, so it's basically quite a good time because I can just do what I want.
Nice. Yeah, you just can focus on your practice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Are you there for a specific project or something like that, or is it just for your own research?
No, I'm here for a specific project. Like I as you know, I work like quite a lot with gestures and work with them in video and then drawing and mix it in performance. And and in the last years, I was very much engaged in protest culture and how the media image of protest culture is captured. And in that sense, there's also like the capturing of the gestures of protest. And so what I'm doing here now is to do a historical research, how these gestures evolved, or at least I would look at sources of earlier times, mostly now from Munich here, to see how the protest world was here 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or even like longer, but then it's not photography anymore, then it's like woodcut paintings. Yeah, so to kind of touch that topic a little bit deeper and to link it to contemporary dynamics, you can say. But there's lots of reoccurring movements, body movements, language, and dynamics of violence, you can also say, which is then, I hope that I can learn something from the historical perspective out of that. So I go with a historian in the archive and we research with a historian in the archive.
That
And
sounds
then
so interesting. Is that
and then
are you basically going to use those research and these to be influenced and create some sort of like artworks?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not completely clear what will comes out of it. Like I have an
Hmm.
idea for a drawing series which I want to do, and but right now we are in the moment where we just collect image and text and anything which we find interesting, and see what that brings us, because
Hmm.
it's better to not have a completely fixed plan,
Yeah.
so that you're open for actually what you can find. But still, there's an interest in what I just described about, is there a change over time? What kind of change? How does the gestures are like representing themselves as, like you can say, also language, which developed like through history,
Yeah.
and is then, and gestures are getting used again and new contextualized with every protest, and with every generation, and with like any political
It
agenda, you can
changed
say,
and
what is behind
evolved.
it.
Hmm.
So in that sense, this also will take longer than just only Munich, because I have to go to several places to actually really dig deeper. But this is some kind of start, and then we will see in the long run what will come out of it. I will do drawings for sure here, and I will also
Hmm.
do like edits for video, which I do, which I combine. But it's nothing I can now really tell is completely finished, or because it's starting, you can say.
Yeah, you don't have a fixed idea, and I think it's the best way of like starting a project, something like that. Like you might decide what to go for, like drawing. So, but it might change. So if you have like an open idea, open mind for
Yeah,
it,
there's a fixed interest, you can say, but it's
hmm,
nothing which should then become a fixed form before you already know what you're actually getting in your hands on the
yeah,
set.
that's for sure. That's great. And yeah, I always like get super caught up in talking to people straight away, and then I never give like an actual proper introduction. So let's do that. In today's episode, we have Timo, which I met a couple of weeks ago with Front Views, and during the exhibition. And yeah, how you doing, Timo? You okay? Is it good?
Yes, yeah, I am. As I said, I have very much my own time schedule where I am in my residency in South Bavaria, and so I'm quite
Nice.
happy and relaxed, and everything's fine.
Yeah, why you don't introduce yourself a little bit of your background, uh, how you end up in um, as an artist today, and yeah, so the people can know you better.
hmm Um, so yeah, my name is Timo Herbst. I'm like a visual artist. Basically, just do all the time art and exhibiting and stuff. And I before I studied art, I studied philosophy
Hmm.
and cultural studies, but I did not finish. I changed the studies to art, to visual art, and started in Bremen, and then changed to the academy in Leipzig. Finished my diploma and my Meisterschüler degree in Leipzig, and since then I'm very much traveling with art on residencies, on exhibitions worldwide, and very much in between Leipzig and Berlin. That's also
Hmm.
like the last years became like before Corona, it became much more intensive in Berlin because of gallery I have there and the Hound Collective, which is was like establishing itself.
Hmm.
And yeah, so basically that's me.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we as I said, we met in Front Views for your last exhibition there, and the video that you present was quite interesting. And when you explained me what it meant and everything, um, it took a really kind of like a deep meaning when instead of like just watching the video, because the video is quite funny in like in itself, but when you explain what it meant, it was really interesting, and it took totally another meaning for me. And yeah, it was correct me if I'm wrong. It was you were in New York and you start to conduct traffic. Obviously, you're not part of the police. Obviously, you're not part of traffic people, and you just start managing the traffic. And the funny thing is that nobody really stopped you, and you were allowed to do it. And obviously, the car kind of were confused, and they didn't really follow your rules, but at the same time they were like, what's going on? So it was really interesting, the whole reaction, the whole scenario that you bring with the gesture, with the whole thing.
Yeah.
How did you explain a little bit about that project that you had?
You mean the video?
Yeah, the video of in New York. I think it's it's really funny for people.
The video was from 2013, so it's quite some
Mm,
time, a while ago. And in that time, I was very often doing video performances
mm,
and connected to the drawings. Like for instance, before I went to New York, I just finished a drawing which was actually a musical conductor, where the gestures of a musical conductor was drawn.
mm,
And in that drawing there was the same question maybe as also in the video, like in what because a gesture sometimes is like shows you some content in the sense of gives you a sign. For instance, the musician gives the orchestra a sign about how to start or stop, or what kind of intonation it is.
mm,
And does also the traffic conductor do. And so so that's basically my core interest in every kind of human bodily expression, is this moment of when does a sign or a signal or a meaning occur,
mm.
and how is that influenced, because it's very much influenced about the context, but it's also very much influenced about the knowledge we have, and also about um, the shape of language, of a gesture which you have already in your mind, which can be shaped by also like doing it in the moment. That's how we come back to the protest gesture and the vocabulary, which are then getting extended and so on. So basically, when I was in New York, I did not like, I had all these thoughts maybe in my head,
Mm.
but when I do this kind of performances, I work very much intuitively. So I saw the traffic conductors, and I was also like kind of amused by the ambivalence they had, because I thought also the traffic was not really looking for the
Yeah.
authorized traffic conductor as well. So, and when you are visiting New York, I think the most, like, first, it's very impressive, lots of history, lots of art history, lots of impressive buildings, but it's quite big. And as a
Mm.
visitor, I think you get very impressed, but at the same time, you also get a very strong feeling of, I'm just a very tiny bit
Yeah.
of a large world which is walking through the street, or which is like
Yeah, I can
organizing the
imagine.
life here, even taking part at the life structure here. So for me, this video was a way to experiment with the way how does this gesture works, but at the same time also a reactions toward
What you were
this world
feeling.
of New York, which does not really has any interest in me as this tiny little bit.
Mm.
and and the traffic conductor, who is in a certain sense on a stage and seen very much, and wants to have authority, but sometimes says and sometimes don't, that gets elevated or gets stronger by me in the video, because I don't have the authority. I'm a foreigner. It's very, it might be also very funny, because I'm doing it a little bit um, in a very relaxed manner, you can say.
Like a caricature kind of thing, like
Yeah, it's not.
yeah.
This was also not intentionally, but like also like the resonance now in the exhibition was very funny because the people said it is funny because I'm not making it so strong. It's but I'm also, because I look relaxed in the sense of that I, in a sense, also would not really care, maybe. And
Yeah.
that was also the case for the original traffic cops, which I actually like observed and tried to learn from their gestures, because they were actually bored most of the time and just repeating their
Yeah.
rhythm.
No,
And
as I said, it's really interesting the reaction, first of all, of like people and even people walking and stuff, like they're looking at you and by this person, but they don't even stop you. They don't really care, and they just go on with their life, and it's just like, oh, it's just another person that's doing crazy stuff in New York. So that's so interesting, and it takes, as I said, it takes a completely different meaning um when you actually, like, you obviously what the artist, you in this case, wants with that video. And yeah, it's I think it represents perfectly the whole sensation, the emotion that you were feeling, that in that moment, that you were like a little dot in this giant universe. It's it was completely, it was really good.
it
I
also
really.
becomes like a metaphor, you can say, in the sense of this ambivalence of how much influence do I have, how much interaction is possible for me. I mean, which is also a very political question, in the sense of how do we participate, and or if I want to influence something, how can I reach? So it's nothing which the video really does, but the gesture and the dynamics between me and the surroundings is kind of becomes a metaphor for this interaction, you can say. And maybe to also to kind of quickly summarize the video, because the people who are listening have not seen it. I was like, over the time of 2 weeks, I was in New York and conducting traffic on intersections where also usually would traffic cops would stand. And so it's about 30 to 40 intersections which are like cut in a video about 7 minutes long, changing from point to point in jump cuts, like with the gestures just continuing, but I mean in different places. Sometimes people are talking to me, sometimes cars are stopping and asking me, sometimes people are asking for the way, sometimes mistakes occurs, and like I nearly get run over. So it's a very diverse reaction of sometimes you really believing that people or the traffic rhythm is looking for me, is doing what I want, and sometimes it's like they completely ignore me and are even like maybe also confused. And at the same time, you have a separate movement or traffic of passers-by, of people walking with dogs, and like all these tiny little attributes or things in New York, which are sometimes very also nice to see, like someone who's riding a bike with like a huge pile of balloons. And
Yeah.
so the image is also very nice, and it's a vertical image, not like vertical image, because the skyscrapers in New York are also very high, and then you have this.
Oh, you
this
wanted to give
long,
that perspective.
exactly. You have
Oh,
this long blue
that's
in between the
interesting.
building, and then usually I also like this. You see in the exhibition you saw the screen version of the video. Usually I do it that you project it much bigger on a vertical canvas, projection canvas, where you can see the image on back and on the front and on the back side, and it's in the middle of the space so that you can walk around it, and then the space, the walls of the space becomes like the edges of the intersection, or
I see.
also at the same time the Flucht, the extension of the street. So
Yeah,
it
I know what
becomes
you
very
mean.
architectural and very bodily. You feel really the traffic much stronger, as you have seen that now on the screen version.
I see what you mean. That would be super interesting to see. How is the movement? Because obviously you've been talking about movement and you've been talking about how important it is for your practice. And you were in New York for doing that. It was the big drawing Sandio.
No, Sunday was much later. Sunday
Ah,
is
okay. Okay. Because yeah, I was watching all your drawing. I was reading about on your website, and obviously movement. You said it's really important for you. Why is that? It's something that is. Why did you choose that as your subject of your practice most of the time?
um,
Is there a specific region? Could be just you're curious about.
I mean, like, yeah, I would. Usually, I say that I learn from each artwork which I do. So when I did a piece, there's always like a new question arising, which gets me going for the next piece. So movement is maybe the line which hold all that together, but there are so many other questions attached to that. So like when I like this really when I decided to really dig deeper into movements, like the first drawing which I did was like to draw a dance on a 4 meter long piece of paper, which is like a tap dance. And so I've drawn the steps of that dance or a certain time frame of the dance. And the core question for me was like, what happens? Do I understand it better if I would draw it on a piece of paper, as you can say an animation movie, just on one piece of paper? Um, uh, uh, because I can see everything at once. Do I understand it better then? Do I understand better the rules of the dance? And which then, because a movement always comes back to the same point in space, if it's a dance, for instance, then you have over crossings, and then there's lots of possibilities how to read um, this dance drawing. So in the end, it became a drawing in which the viewer is actually constructing the dance by viewing it, because you choose which step is the next by watching the next step, not by me completely deciding it. There are some decisions which leads you, but not all the time. And so that was the first time where I jumped into this question about why am I interested in movement, just because I really like the appearance and the sensual idea of viewing it. But then, as I said with the conductor, if you do this, you very soon come to the question of, but movement also transports content, information. Uh, so when does a movement become something which I can read? For instance, a gesture. When does a movement become something we call a gesture because we think there is meaning inside it, and there's a language we can read and decipher, and that's why and that's so bit by bit I moved from the questions of looking at movements to the way of how does this meaning in movements occur. So and then I started this performances, because I thought it would be interesting, because in the drawings I'm very focused on the appearance of a movement, for instance how a hand is moving, but I'm not interested in which context this hand is read. But the context is very important for the meaning which occurs. So I started playing with this, doing different actions or the same actions in different contexts, for instance in private or public. I told you about this performance where I was like in between, on the border and in porches in Oslo, New York State, where sometimes I'm an intruder and sometimes I'm not, depending on what I am actually doing. And that's because the way things are done, on the way things are executed, is also very, and the context are like shaping this
yeah, and then
meaning.
obviously like the place where you were doing it, like sometimes you could feel you were obviously intruding the place, so sometimes you felt more welcomed. And is for the people that is watching, is you were going to house by house for every house in the porch, and you were cleaning, you were like moving stuff in every single porch, and every time was obviously for you was a different emotionally, because sometimes, as we said, sometimes you felt welcome and sometimes you felt uncomfortable, and it was, yeah, and you film it, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah,
and
so at first I was just like do resting on the porch, and then doing stuff, and after some time like taking responsibility and started cleaning and stuff. So and at some point it's there's like, I think like there's the same, and for each visitor it's different where you put the border, where you say now he's like overstepping, and that's depending on what I'm doing. Like interesting also is like that it's also depending on the cultural context, because in the US you have very strict law. So as if you are too long on a property, you are actually in squatting. You cannot
you're
stay too
invading the,
long.
yeah.
That's why you can also not like touch the post of someone's. Like a postman can just leave the package in front of the doors in the US, because you're not allowed by law to touch the post of other people, which I did not know. So, but it's so the video is also again playing with this perception or experiencing of these rules, and that's very much defined by the context, the rules of in that sense US, and also but of what I am doing. Because if you don't know the context, you're the rules of the country, you have to decide by yourself where there is like squatting or a border, and that depends on the way on the way, and also what I am doing. If I'm just passing by, I'm just like entering quickly, I'm not. But if as soon as I start like doing
even for the audience, even if for the audience that is watching the video in this case, can just be, the artist is cleaning the porch, and he gives the meaning, another meaning, when actually when you want to explore something else and you try to give another meaning to the audience. It can be read in so many different ways if you don't know the context, as we said.
The video is a bit eerie after some time, because you don't know all that what we are speaking about when you enter exhibition space, and then it's three projections. So you have like three houses next to each other as like the same as a street side view, and each time you see me doing something else, and then the images are changing. And so at first you could say, okay, it's someone who's just looking after the house, or at least someone who's living there. But because it's so much often me at different places, after sometimes you get after a while you get irritated that something is weird here, something is not right. What is he doing? And then sometimes you have also like subtitles where it's described how like the sometimes neighbors were watching me and were also reacting towards me, but I could not film that. And so it's there's sometimes the reaction described on the bottom with subtitles, so give a bigger picture. And also like the reactions of actually people who also were talking to me, because sometimes also people came to me the same as the traffic. But it's much more sublime, like the video is much more giving time and sensual feeling about here what is going on, what's actually happening. And I think that's also mostly the case in all my works, that it gives very much concentration on a movement or a Handlung, an action, which is unfolded, to question how is it done, what does it affect, and how does it affect, or maybe even differently, because lots of times actions and gestures are also ambivalent or like create different meanings at the same time. That's why we are fighting so much about political gestures, for instance. And So that's so as I described beforehand, with like every work gives a new question. All these works were one step to these kind of questions, because then after the performances I started not also to draw or do performances in daily realm sphere, but also in political situations, which are much more ambivalent or are aufgeladen, much more. There's much higher tension of how something has to be read, how someone how someone wants someone else to read something that way, or to agree or not disagree. So the stake is much higher, and so my work then developed not by giving up these daily things, but it developed also much stronger into a political research, or in experimenting with political material or situations.
Do you, because for you, obviously, researching, it's really important because gives the meaning behind the whole project, the whole like the video, the drawing that you're doing. Do you care to explain that to the audience? Do you care if the audience understands completely what you're trying to do, or you like, or you prefer giving to the audience the chance to give their own meaning, their own like meaning to the video, to the drawing that you're doing?
I would say the second. I think it's very important for me to talk with people about it and to share the way we are perceiving it, but I think like when you have put so much work, and that not only like handcraft work but also work thinking and preparing into something, it's also hard to let it go. But I think it's very important for an art piece, and also it's also not possible to actually want to that it gets one strict meaning. So I think it's very important that the artwork can do that by itself. So if I really want that the piece in the end, it has a central trigger or entry for someone to enter in all these questions by experience something
that's why I'm asking, because obviously you put so much work before you actually doing the artwork, with your mind, with your research. It's all out in your head, and I was really curious if it was just for you, for your own pleasure, and like when you research and give it that sort of meaning, or you care about explaining it to people. But I think it's important for art in general to when you give it to the audience decide what that particular artworks mean for that person, because in the end of the day, like that's what it is. Like everyone can read that in a different way.
I mean, in the long run, when you see all these pieces together, they also connect, because you can see how this question is then unfolding more and more in my work, and then you also can read why I maybe did do something without explaining it. Right?
I'm actually seeing more that you're talking about, because I saw what you did, and it really makes sense now, because it really seems from let's say the first artwork, it's a step further into a deeper meaning to what you try to research in, like with your practice in general, which is really interesting. And I want to really talk about your drawing as well, because I think they're really exquisite. They're really good. For example, what really a couple that really interested me was a Sandial, and it was the let's talk about Sandial right now. What was the idea? What was the whole process behind?
Sundial is Sonnenuhr in German. It's a very long drawing where I again drew a dance, but not the choreography of a dance. I did the development or uh, the Entstehung, like the development process of a choreography itself before it's done. So basically, Sunday, it's a 12-meter long drawing of two arms which are doing certain movements. Like most of them are doing like a circular movement, but and the movements are coming from a rehearsal William Forsythe did in the Opera House 12 years ago in Frankfurt for a dance piece called Do. And William Forsythe is a very well-known choreographer from the US, which had a very well-known company in Frankfurt, but also in Dresden, Forsythe Company. And he started very much with a ballet practice, and then in the last 10 years really created his own contemporary dance style. But the dancers are very well educated, and it's a very interesting dance world of him. And I worked together with the former dancer of his, and she showed me one day the rehearsal video of this duo piece, of the first duo piece, which evolved through the last 15 years very much. And in this rehearsal video, William Forsythe is explaining the choreography to the dancers, but at the same time is also creating it. Means this special movement, which sundial, the name of the drawing is also called the name of the movement.
Oh, okay.
Sundial he repeats it a few times, explaining how it should be done, but is at the same time changing it because he wants it differently done. So it's not only a rehearsal process, but also the creational process. So I then restaged this movement from the video with this dancer, with this Forsythe dancer together, and then drew that basically on several sheets of paper, and like it's one long sheet of paper which is 12 meters long, but I usually layer these papers with Japanese papers. It's 2 layers of Japanese tissue paper, and genau, and then you have this repetition of this circular movement, which is also in the end hung in a circle, in a 3/4 circle.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's I was gonna to ask as well. Why did you decide to exhibit it like that for like the circle move in a circular way? Is that for represent the movement as well?
Sort of, yes. As I said, like movement also always describes space because it's moving through space, and I wanted to create a space by this movement, which is also like done with the paper, because the paper is moving through the space, and at the same time, because the movement is a circular movement, there's Stelen, there are like metal constructions, which are like thin metal lines, which are then holding the paper, and then you have like these, the same as a sundial, you have these vertical lines which would in the Sonnenuhr there would just be one, which gives like the shades, but in some sense it kind of resonates well with the sundial idea. But funny in that sense is also that I did not think about that when I decided the form. I just found it out afterwards, like because like I did not understand that the English title sundial as Sonnenuhr until Liz Waterhouse, who was my collaborational, like this former Forsythe dancer. She translated it to me after the installation was done. That was a very nice moment, because as I said, sometimes if you if you're doing some kind of work in the sense of that you don't want to know everything beforehand. Even if I research a lot, I don't want to do everything in beforehand. It's a very good if it kind of then all
Ends
comes
up, yeah.
together. Yeah, and that was one of these moments.
Yeah, that's really funny. And thank God it was something that related to the drawing, not something completely different to the drawing. Yeah. Something another one that really interested me was I think it was called Point of Coincidence. The drawing that you were doing while there was a Muslim praying. Yeah, talk a little bit about that. I think it was really powerful for me. I don't know why.
Have you seen the video as well?
No, I couldn't find it. I saw only the picture.
There's also a video.
Okay.
In 2018, I did a larger exhibition im Kunstquartier Bethanien, and there also did the collaboration with Baha Thalys, who is an Egyptian filmmaker, also artist, and he's a Muslim. We also worked together before that. That was not our first collaborative work, and so he's on a piece of paper practicing his daily Muslim prayer, which you usually would do 5 times a day. But if you're on travel, you can also do it differently, 1 time a day, but then all at once.
Yeah.
And at the same time as he's praying, I'm drawing. And what was interesting, or what was also the origin of us, was that we realized, despite our very different backgrounds, because we knew each other like for 5 years already, when we did that performance, there's a very big similarity in the sense of how our body is working when I'm drawing, and I'm sitting also on the paper, and I'm going down and up, and he's going down and up, and the way what it also means for us, because the practice of me drawing is also a very contemplative moment, very high concentration, and it's also a practice which has meaning for me as a human being. The same obviously has also like the prayer as a religious practice for Baha, which also makes it difficult, because really conservative Muslim people could also like find it as an affront to combine both, but we wanted to do that, to tell and to experience and also to share this space, and to see if this kind of resonance and similarities and differences would occur and disappear. And if you see the video, that's why I asked, that's actually what is happening, because you really see when we are moving with the body, that there's lots of communication going on, but also lots of concentration and lots of formal similarities and differences, and it's changing and developing all the time, and it's creating a very nice net of associations, and just a shared space, you can also say, because we are really respectively shared it together, and
really close to each other. Wow.
And I was like, there's one part still missing. The drawing I did is a pattern, which is also from Al-Andalus, which is a Muslim time from like when the Muslim was very strong in Andalusia in Spain. And that pattern is also some sort of, you can see it, for instance, in the Alhambra very much, that pattern. And that pattern is, in a sense, also a symbol for the flexibility of Muslim belief, you could say, because in that time, the Quran was not practiced word by word. Today, it's most of the Muslim practices are very strongly at the direct translation of the Quran. And at that time, there was a highest flexibility. And that was something which was for Baha very important in a sense to express that, because that's also the way we are kind of questioning the way how our flexibility in this communication is working. So every time Baha is starting and stopping his practice, I'm doing the same. I'm also starting and stopping, which means the pattern is arranged every time new. It's not something which goes on and as a regular pattern, just drawn, because every time I start new at a different point. So the pattern gets new, composed, broken, not regular.
Yeah, it's not intersected into each
in
other.
that sense, it reflects all again what we are doing in the sense, and that was something we wanted to not to express but to experience with each other. But I was very insecure when we did that at first, because I was not sure how well it worked. But as soon as we did it together, I was very happy that we did it, because I think it worked for us as a space very well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's one of my favorite, to be honest. It's and now even more because I can understand even more, and even the aesthetic of the drawing itself of you performing that, it's really powerful. It's something really it's so interesting. I hope like I can show it to people so they can see it. But yeah, it's I think it's one of my favorite. I wanted to ask you because you've been doing. It seems like you've been doing a lot. You've been even traveling a lot, and every time you travel, you try to express in some sort of way your emotion and stuff like that. How did your practice change through time? Do you think it changed, or do you think did it evolve? Did it stay the same?
No, it changed definitely. Like through traveling, I also very much intensified my filming, because it just makes sense, because it's the easiest thing you can do, and it's the most interesting, because you're in contact with people, you see so many different things. So filming is just something which just totally makes sense, and drawing as well. But you cannot draw, like, I don't always have the facilities to draw like long big drawings. So yeah. So I would say my practice was very much focused. Like 10 years ago, my practice was mostly drawing. And then after I finished my degrees, I traveled a lot and then also did a lot of performance, and then more and more video. And now I'm getting to a time where it all is maybe balancing itself in the sense of, there were points where I had mostly draw, where I mostly perform, where I mostly film, and now it's kind of coming by side, and that's the material world, you can say. I mean, I built also more and larger installations in the last years, so they also get more heavier, and so my preparation process is also getting longer, and yeah. I would also say that because like when you're coming out of the university, I think you have the feeling you have to do very fast. And for me, I was graduating 2013 with my diploma, and then 2016 a Meisterschüler. So it's quite some time ago, like 8 years. So I'm getting a little bit more patient in that sense, to give the work some more time to develop. Like for instance, the performance with Baha, he was was telling us to do that, or was asking me to do the performance like a few years before that, before we actually did that. But I was not ready to do it, and because I was insecure, and I wouldn't have also not enough experience maybe to really appreciate it the way it was then when we did it. So I give the time, the pieces more time, or to see when they're getting ready, that something develops. But because also my practice is very diverse in the sense of drawing, research, video, performative, building stuff, I can also choose, and that's also the reason that I can just give other stuff just time to lay it down, because I just concentrate myself now on this. And this is sometimes very good, because I then just get distance to it, and it can just
you get excited when you come back to
exactly,
it.
or it just can sink into yourself, into the subconscious or whatever, and give something which needs time to get deeper in the sense of.
It's really curious for me. Because you jump from one media to another. Is that scary for you to do that, or you find it like now, especially after you've done it so many times, you find it like normal, or is there's always the element of like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do that, and how
No,
it's gonna.
it gets more and more normal to me, but at the same time also it's always some effort, because it's like, that because you draw yourself. It's not that you just, when you have not drawn for a few weeks or even a few months, it's not that you just start where you have like stopped. You have to get warm again. You have to, there has to get time to pass by. So when coming back into the studio, when I just take my time, when I take time to really focus on drawing, the first 2 weeks I just produce stuff which I never would show to anyone, mostly. And and in film editing it's the same, because the programs are getting so complex nowadays that you don't remember everything.
It's true.
And you have to get into that. It's the same. And like, you have your skills in a piece of paper, there's have your skills on the computer, and it's just a different thing. But basically, you have to get warm, or
And even because
into
I guess like you wanted to make it better from the last time, so you spend even more time. Do you think that this way of working, like jumping from something to another, and makes yourself like warming up again, as you said, helps your practice? Because it's exciting for you all the time, every time you come back to your media, or is that it's not really an element of.
Yes, I would agree. I mean, sometimes it also like this, because of this excitement, the first beginning of a piece is then also very sometimes can become very strong, because you just spit it out. But at the same time, it's jetzt habe ich den Faden verloren. I lost my point.
So does it help your practice, this way of working?
Yes. I would say like the stronger moment which helps me is that it always questions me in my practice, because I don't have this repetitions endlessly in that sense, because when you do drawing, you have your practice, and then you know how you do it, and you repeat it, and you get good resonance, so you repeat it again, and it's getting stronger and bigger and whatever. And because I'm jumping into these different medias in this kind of getting warm again moment, I also always question what that is, and if I fundamentally want to change maybe something of it, or and it also get influenced by the other medias, because you have like, I don't know, if I edit something in video, it also can kind of make me see different on the drawing I do, so I would say, even even if I say that I hope to consistently kind of develop these strands of my works, but still it's something where I always need to really question and simplify for myself why I'm doing that now, because otherwise it's getting too overwhelming. And yes, so in that sense, that's maybe excitement is very important, but I think doubt as well. So
I like that. Yeah.
That sense that this is, and sometimes I appreciate that doubt very much, and sometimes I also don't. So it's like, as you also know that
Yeah.
Doing art can also be sometimes very hard and insecuring and something which is like where you struggle very much with these things, and doing all these different materials also mean that you struggle a lot because of it. So, but that doubt, because I have this interest in movement and meaning and all this stuff, this pushes me always through that doubt. So,
yeah, I like that. I agree. That's something that as an artist you should have always, especially when you start feeling comfortable, you should try to not make yourself comfortable and jump in something else and push yourself. And it always helps. I think it always helps for your practice to be better. For sure, I completely agree. And what does it inspire you? Because those subjects that you bring into your art, they're really they can seem like not random, but for example, the drawing that you did in Point of Coincidence, the sundial again, like the dancer, they all relate to movement. But what does it inspire you to use that to represent the movement? You just go with your guts, or
basically, yes.
you like it, basically?
Yes, because
Simple.
that's how it started. I saw this dance and I thought I should draw that. And
I like that.
and like the first performance Baha and me did was well, also something where I just like where I just asked him to do it. I won't explain it now because I think it's too much. But I think it's I wouldn't say it's random, but I don't think as much about deciding what I go for as it may seem, because I think it's a combination of feeling and thinking in that sense, because I'm getting inspired or fascinated by something which I experience or which I see, and then maybe at once I say I have to do something with it, or maybe it just takes some time because it just sticks in my head, and then it develops like, and that always is some sort of some mixture of intuition and knowledge or experience, which is both, and and maybe because I have like a baggage of stuff I've already done, that there are like stuff which are getting overlap, where I see overlaps of, so there's not it's not surprising that I was very interested to work together with this foresight dancer after I've already drawn another dance. And the way William Forsythe is using his limbs, like the arms and the legs, it's a very specific style, which I'm also very interested in the way I beforehand was drawing people in fighting scenes on the street and stuff, where you have like a very very strong extension of the limbs of the body. So you have like overlapping interest sections or resonances in forms or themes or research questions which are which are then pushing each other. So but it's not that it's basically that I cannot describe it better. It's a mixture of intuition and knowledge and living, and that always means that there's also coincidence of what just happens to be what you read, or who you meet in the street, or where you travel to, or because, like, for instance, then 2015, while this migration summer started in Europe, where all the refugees were stuck at the train station in Budapest, I was there just by coincidence. So I started this very important video work of mine, which is called Play by Rules, which is kind of focusing on how does the media image occurs, and how does the production of imagery is also giving a very big effect on what is happening in this moment of emergency or protest by itself. But that was the initial moment, because I just was there. I never thought about it beforehand, or at least not that way. But just because I was there, it happened to start, and this work developed very, very much longer. I was in very different cultural context in the last few years, and developed always this question and research into this question longer, also weiter, like I developed it further, but just because this moment happened in Budapest.
That's so interesting. That's I love the talk that we had. That was so. I think you're such an interesting artist, and I'll definitely like keep looking up for your art, and hopefully I'll see you again in Berlin.
Sure.
Soon, yeah. Because I think we have like the project with you called CHARTA in FRONTVIEWS in June, so I'll definitely see you then. And yeah, anyway, I don't want to take too much time of your day. Thank you very much, Timo. That was so interesting. It was so good. I really liked it.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Oh, do you wanna promote a little bit of your website, your social media, anything you have?
Sure. Everyone who's interested can look at www.TIMO HERBST. Herbst is like the German word for autumn. So www.TIMO HERBST, TIMOHERBST.org, or at Studio Timo Herbst on Instagram.
Perfect. I will put all the links down below on the comments, so everyone can just click and go to your website or Instagram so they can check you out. Thank you very much, Timo, and enjoy your rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.